to a special edition of Target Score, a crossover edition with Target Score Winnipeg and Target Score Vancouver. I'm Joey Slattery. Beside me is our Vancouver host, Chris Wiggins. You could follow us on Instagram at Target Score Pod, on YouTube at Target Score Podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed, your notifications are on. And if you like what you're listening to, give us a like, maybe a comment. Love to get into it with everybody here. Of course, you could always message us on Instagram as well, whether that's our personal Instagram or on the podcast one. We try to get to all the messages, and I think we do a pretty good job. Nonetheless, it's a big week here ahead. I'm calling it, Chris, Super Saturday, because I don't know, we don't get these weekends very often, or these days, a doubleheader that features the top four teams, and both games are conference rivalries. I think this is going to be a huge weekend. Obviously, you and I are going to start with Vancouver and Winnipeg, but let's do a wellness check first. How are things in Vancouver? Because everything was starting to go. It was really hot to start. It's been a bit of a rough stretch for Vancouver. What's the temperature check out west?
Geez, what a loaded question these days.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, it's times have been better. I think everybody is well aware of the incident that we saw in Winnipeg, and the league released a statement about the investigation involving Kyle Julius and a fan in Winnipeg. So at this point, Kyle wasn't on the bench last weekend, and Rans Brempong stepped in and got his first W on the bench. But yeah, things are a little weird, man. I didn't see Kyle around on Saturday at shoot around. Of course, he wasn't on the bench, like I mentioned, Saturday in a win over Brampton. But yeah, things are a little off. Jalen House wasn't around either. I'm not sure what's happening there. So things are rocky at the moment. But such is life in the CEBL. Things change quickly, and Lloyd Pandy shows up. Mitch Creek is in for a cup of coffee and off to Australia. They win a big game against Brampton without Kyle Julius, without Jalen House, and so we'll see what happens this weekend. I haven't been to practice yet this week. We'll try to get there in a couple of days as we get closer to Saturday. But I'm curious to see who's around at practice this week.
Well, Lloyd Pandy. Huge signing. I mean, that guy was huge for Ottawa for a bunch of years, and I think it's going to be a massive, particularly on the defensive end, addition for Vancouver. But that game in Winnipeg, I mean, first off, I'm going to straight up say I don't think Winnipeg is 33 points better than Vancouver. That game got away on them real quick. Motions were high, and as you mentioned, the investigation happening through the incident. If you care to, you can go watch the game on YouTube, and there's plenty of videos on Instagram as well. But wasn't a great scene, that's for sure. Didn't get an update on what the fan repercussion was, but that fan was not at the game on the Saturday game where the Edmonton Stingers were in town. But not a great look, that's for sure. League looking into it now and taking care of it. But regardless of that incident, it was another loss for Vancouver and a big win for Winnipeg. I mean, looking from the Winnipeg side of things, I don't think anyone expected, especially without Xavier Moon and Emmanuel Acott in the lineup, that they were going to blow Vancouver out by 30 points. Even without Mitch Creek, I mean, Jalen House, and then you throw the Jalen House aspect. He had 42 points. He had 42 points in a 33-point loss. It was just Winnipeg has had some weird lopsided scores this year, that being one of them for sure. But, looking ahead to the rematch in Vancouver, Wait,
before you get there, if I could just say a few things about the game in Winnipeg, that would be, Vancouver's defense has been, we've talked about it a number of times on the podcast. Kyle Julius has been very candid about it. Their defense has been awful. Mitch Creek mentioned it post game, on Saturday in a win over Brampton. He was like, you and I spoke about how shit our defense has been, and we held Brampton to 81. So, that's a little bit better. But yeah, to your point, I mean, Winnipeg, I thought it was going to be a tough night for Vancouver. I didn't realize Xavier Moon wasn't playing, which is even more impressive for Winnipeg to topple Vancouver like that. As I say, I think Vancouver was going to be in tough, but did I see a 33-point victory coming? No. The last time the Vancouver Bandits lost by more than 33 was August of 2021. I believe it was 35 to the Edmonton Stingers. So goes to show,
It's been a while.
It's been a while. And, and they usually have strong teams year over year. But yeah, that was a big lopsided win for the Winnipeg Sea Bears, and just a weird night overall, as you say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just funny how these records kind of, the same record, totally different vibes, right?
Yeah.
And Vancouver got off to a hot start, and I talked about this on the Brampton podcast with Denung Balsera. It's funny because in Winnipeg, it was back and forth for the first quarter of the season: win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But the losses, I think their biggest loss of the year was like 6 points. So everything's been like a one possession, 1 or 2 possession loss in those losses. So there was never that sense of panic or urgency. Like I had asked Mike Rainbow, this would have been a few games ago, where just like I asked him along the lines of he's getting frustrated, with these close games and losing these one possession games. And he said, no, because you'll drive yourself nuts. Like going over the game tape, trying to find the one possession that could have changed the game over, right? He said, definitely there's areas they want to tighten up on, but it's they were in good shape, and it was early in the season. Guys were getting implemented, and now they're rolling. And I'm not sure what the ceiling is for Winnipeg because we don't know if Xavier Moon will be in the lineup. So quick update, I guess, on Xavier Moon.
Because I was going to ask you about that, like because he didn't play against Vancouver, and I thought he was going to. And so is he going to see the floor this week or?
So it's not injury or anything like that. It's not him holding out. This is completely out of the hands of the Sea Bears and the CEBL. It's FIBA clearance. It has to do with the transferring over from Russia to here. He will be playing. It could be Saturday, could be a couple weeks. It'll be in soon. I don't think it's going to go too deep into July, let's say. But yeah, he's ready to play. He wants to play. I talked to him and asked him about how tough this is, and he's raring to go. Like this is a league that he really kind of made his name. That like launched his career. He's excited to be back and all that, but it's out of everybody's control. So just got to hang tight and see if that comes in for Saturday. But Winnipeg, regardless, I mean, like talking to Mike Rainbow before the game, the head coach of the Sea Bears, and I was asking him, are you excited to get him back in? He's like, honestly, like more because it's hard to pretend he's not here in the first place because the team still has to prepare without him, right? And moving forward. And he doesn't want them leaning on he's coming soon, right? So that's been the kind of the interesting element of that. But I, looking at that game with Vancouver, I really like the performance from Winnipeg because it was very complete, and they kind of just put it to bed and never really relented. Like, and what I'll say about Vancouver, despite everything, it's not like they gave up. Like they had some bad bounces, they couldn't find their shot, other than Jalen House, obviously. But like defensively, they were still working hard. Like it didn't seem like the team gave up at any point. It was just a perfect storm for Vancouver. It felt like Winnipeg was playing great and Vancouver was playing awful, and it couldn't have been a worse time for Vancouver. Couldn't have been a better time for Winnipeg, right? But I think when we look at the differences too, I mean, Winnipeg now, Isaiah Osborne has been phenomenal since joining Winnipeg, particularly at home. They've not lost a game since he joined the team. And his worst game was in Calgary. He had 8 points. Every other game, he's had 20 plus. So I think he's averaging like 18. But if you take out that one game, it'd be over 20. So anyway, I think with that whole ordeal, like with everything that happened, I think the one thing that kind of shined in the Winnipeg side of things was how poised this team is. Because we've seen Winnipeg in the past have blow-ups, right? Not with fans, but, like Teddy Allen, had gotten into it once upon a time with Byron Mullins. And, they're no stranger to having those kinds of issues and kind of, we'll say behavioral incidents. But this time around, it seems like when the Sea Bears find themselves in any adversity, there's a poise to it. Like, and even when they were 500, if this were a year ago, there would have been panic. This year, it was kind of like, they're working their way up. You can feel the improvement. Now they won 4 straight. They're in first in the West, but it's still a long way to go. I think Vancouver has a chance to make a statement on Saturday.
Don't you feel like it's like this across the entire league, though? Like, don't you feel like it's just strange everywhere? Like
outside of Scarborough, like Scarborough, outside of Scarborough, the only team that's rolling. Like There's been no real test for them. Like even the test that they do have, they win. Like one of those one possession losses for Winnipeg was against Scarborough in Scarborough. And not to get too much into the eastern side of things, but like that's a big game for Brampton and Scarborough. Bigger for Brampton than it is Scarborough for sure. But that one's going to be fun. You look on this side, it's just funny how a similar record could be two totally different vibes. You have Vancouver at 8-4. It's like, oh no, it feels like everything's falling apart because they had such a good start. And then you have teams like think about this. Saskatoon is basically in the conversation for the conference right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like just a few weeks ago, we were like, oh man, they're 0-3 or 0-4, whatever it is. Yeah. Didn't feel like they had anything going. And I know I was vocal in saying that this team is better than their record. And it's starting to come to fruition, right? You had a new head coach who was, still figuring out the ins and outs of being a head coach at the professional level. He's got guys coming in, he trying to put his systems together, working with new faces and a new, not a new city, but it's a new team and a new ownership. There's a lot going on. And now they've settled in nicely. So now it kind of looked like it was going to be a 2-horse race in the West with, Winnipeg and Vancouver. But man, like outside of Calgary, like even Edmonton, like Edmonton fell from 3rd to 4th. They're struggling right now, but both of those teams can go on a string of wins. I think it might be too late for Calgary to make a playoff push, but I'd be more worried about them playing spoiler for that 3rd, 4th spot. That's for sure.
I still can't get over the fact that they've only won one game. Like
I know,
it's
weird, man.
It could have gone the other way pretty easily. Like it wasn't a blowout, right? Like it felt like it came down to the last couple of buckets, in target score time. But like Saskatoon off to a weird start. Now they're okay. Now they're pretty good. Like Winnipeg, Vancouver are deadlocked. And again, as you say, like, similar record, same record, totally different, vibe. Calgary is 1-10. Like they fired their coach. Like when's the last time you saw a coach get fired a quarter of the way through a CBL season? I don't think I've ever seen that. So it's just been a weird year all around.
Around. And you know what, though? I think here's the other thing. Again, Calgary's a weird, I guess, study on this because it's been a longer term. Like they've been so good since essentially they got to Calgary, and now they're having one bad start to the season, and we're like, oh my, like it's almost like they were never successful. Is kind of like the tone of the conversation. But in a season of the CBL, and that's where I'm, even with Winnipeg, it's like it's been steadily progressing, but you can't get comfortable because look what happens. Like those games, like you look at it now where Vancouver is, like how big that run was to start the season. Right? Because now you're still in second place. You're still kind of running the table to an extent, at least in your own destiny, in terms of ahead of Saskatchewan. But I don't know, man. You look at this league, you cannot get too comfortable with a good start. Like even Scarborough, like they're probably going to have a run of 2 or 3 losses. And how do you bounce back? And I think with Winnipeg, the nice thing for them is that they've had the adversity in small samples, right? There's no real blowout. They've been in close games. Everything's been constructive, right? You can look at those losses and you could take a good look at, okay, well, here's what we did well. We could have won this game. They haven't had a lot of like burn tape games, which I imagine for Vancouver, like that would be their game against Winnipeg, right? Like, let's not even look at the tape. Let's just forget this ever happened and get back to what we do.
It didn't see the light of day. I guarantee you that.
Totally. And so, with Winnipeg, the adversity's been constructive, and now they're starting to hit their stride. But even talking to Kyle Julius before that game in Winnipeg, like one of the things he said was, I don't care about the first place in this game. And that wasn't to say that he doesn't care about first place. What he was saying was, how many times have the Vancouver Bandits been first place from the start of the season to the end of the season and have not achieved that main goal? And he was saying the goal is to peak in 3 weeks from now. Right? You want to start peaking when you're getting into the playoffs. Everybody's clicking. And that's the thing. Like there's 2 ways to look at the whole Xavier Moon arrival, because it's going to change things for sure. He's a very good ball dominant guard, a good facilitator, but he's not played it for a whole half of the season. So now he comes in and, I do think it's going to be seamless. I don't foresee any issues, but there is the possibility that it might throw a little dysfunction in this, right? And it could slow things down a little bit as they try to get him acclimated to this, this new group and coming back to the CEBL and all that stuff. But, if I'm Winnipeg, it's a good role right now. if they lose in Vancouver, you're not going to win them all. I think you're on a good streak right now, but I do think for Vancouver, it's not a must win, but it would be a very nice win at this point of the season to kind of just reinstill maybe some confidence, some morale, and bring that back up. But also just to send a message that just because we lost one game to Winnipeg and fell back to second place doesn't mean we're suddenly basement dwellers in the CEBL.
Yeah.
Like, we're still here.
I might say it's a must win. Definitely because of the outcome in Winnipeg. There's just so many storylines happening in Vancouver right now with the investigation with the league and, who's going to be on the bench on Saturday. Will it be Rands again? He gets his first win. And I don't know if you saw this, maybe not, because it didn't go up on social media, but Kyle Julius has a tradition when Vancouver wins really tough big games where he throws his body into a trash can or he throws his body into the laundry bin in the room, and the guys go crazy, and he calls it bodies flying, and we bleep shit up, and and that's just what Kyle does to get the guys riled up. And so after the win on Saturday over Brampton, and it was Rand's first game, Rands did that.
I saw that on socials.
Rands pulled the Kyle Julius and threw his body into the laundry bin, and the guys went nuts. So I don't know, like maybe there's this this sense of coming together now, even more than they maybe have already this season.
That's an interesting element.
You know what I mean? Like maybe this, like, okay, we're going to band together now, and we're going to do this for Kyle, whether he's there or not. And it sounds like that was, very clear with the message from Mitch Creek in my conversation with him post game. He was very colorful about Kyle Julius and how they miss him, and that, they're doing it for him or whatever. So maybe there's this like, togetherness and camaraderie element to this, whole investigation that lifts this team up to a place they haven't been, together yet. But you can say the same thing that you were mentioning about Winnipeg and Xavier Moon and new guys coming in, and that might be an adjustment. Like you could say that about Vancouver, with a lot of guys like Lloyd Pandy. I think they saw a little bit of that with Shamar Givens in Winnipeg. Like he played, and then he missed Saturday because of personal reasons, and so he hasn't really been, in the system too much. Although he played with us last year, so he knows the ins and outs of Kyle's system a little bit. Whether they're using the same system or not, I don't know. But Lloyd Pandy steps in. Mitch kind of comes in and out for a couple of games. So like that can't be easy in this league. And I'm not suggesting that Vancouver is the only team that has to deal with that, but like certainly, that's a case over here. But yeah, I might say Saturday is a must win for Vancouver, just with everything going on and sending a message. And here's my my quote of the podcast. Here's my Shams moment of the podcast. I have this weird feeling Jalen House isn't going to be around anymore.
Really?
Yeah. In my opinion, he just doesn't fit the culture. There's been a few games that I've seen in Vancouver anyway, where he, has been a little pouty at the end of the bench. I've certainly heard some arguments between him and Kyle Julius, and I'll keep what I've heard, between him and Kyle. But it felt like it felt like it hasn't been easy, with Jalen and the relationship, and but albeit he scored 42 and broke a Bandits record, and I just get this weird feeling he's just not going to be around for very much longer. And you wonder if the first game last weekend was like the tipping point of, I don't know.
Which, to be fair, if it is, it's better for it to happen Saturday as opposed to 3 Saturdays from now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that, like the timing of this is the other thing that I thought about. Like I think the timing of what is happening in Vancouver, based on the start that you have or have had, gives you enough time to right the ship. Even you could absorb a couple of losses. Like it's not as tight as in the East, where like, from, first to last, well, maybe not first, but second to fifth, it's a little tighter, right? There's a bigger risk of falling, for Brampton, let's say, to fall out of playoff position than I think for Vancouver. Like, I do think at this point, it's very much a 3-horse race in the West, like really a 2-horse race. But hey, Saskatoon plays Edmonton on Wednesday, I think, this week. So that'll be telling because, if Saskatchewan wins that one, I just want to make sure I have the numbers right. But
I could see Saskatchewan going on a bit of a run here and giving Vancouver and Winnipeg a run for the top of the conference.
If they win.
Yeah.
If they win, they would be a game behind both of those teams going into the weekend. Now, I know for sure Winnipeg has beat Saskatoon, but they lost as well. So now there's tiebreaker implications there, but you can't overlook Saskatoon right now.
No,
that's the
definitely
thing.
not.
I still think because of the tied records, but they have another game. If they lose that game, I think it's a 2-horse race, but if they beat Edmonton, it becomes a 3-horse race, and Edmonton's going to have to figure it out because they'll be 3-8 if that's the case. So
and they're off. Then the Kentucky Derby.
Belmont Stakes. But yeah, no, I think this is a good time. Like I said, Winnipeg has done a really good job, and I've talked about this in other podcasts. Teddy Allen is playing the best basketball we've seen him play in the CEBL. It's a much more complete version of him than we've seen, in years past. And I've said this, I think I've said it to you off the air, but I've said this a bunch. If Teddy Allen wasn't known as Teddy Buckets and didn't have the scoring stereotype, we'd be calling him a defensive specialist. Guy leads the league in steals. He disrupts. He's so good at disrupting the guard play and getting in passing lanes. He's aggressive. I think a big part of that is because he has a guy like Jeremiah Tillman Jr. protecting the rim. The guards can be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, but
he's I wouldn't say defensive. I'm exaggerating with.
But they can gamble a little bit more. They can gamble knowing they have protection and help. Yeah.
And the other with that though is you look at Teddy Allen's stats. He still is considered the stereotypical scorer.
Yeah,
not playing defense. Picking his spots and hogging the ball. And that has not been the case, man. Defensively, he's creating opportunities for himself and teammates. He's had flirted with triple doubles this year. He's, rebounding. So at both ends of the floor. So this is a guy that, is known as a scorer, but I still think for people outside of Winnipeg or outside of the Sea Bears circle is that I still think that stereotype exists, that all he can do is score and he really can't. And further to that, again, talking about behavioral stuff, here's a guy who has been very even keeled. It's just different. It's different.
I've kind of sensed that myself a little bit too from the outside.
Yeah, he carries himself different. When a call goes against him, you can still see he's frustrated. The competitive fire doesn't go down, but there hasn't been that reaction, and there seems to be this year. Last year, it felt like the roster they had was a bunch of professional basketball players that were collecting their paychecks. Good basketball players, not that they weren't playing hard, but it was they were reporting to their job. It felt like that. Where years prior, especially that first year when the Sea Bears surprised everybody, there was a brotherhood there. You can sense that they were having fun, they enjoyed each other, they were hanging out outside of basketball and getting to know each other. This team has that feel. It helps when you're winning, but they've lost games too, and it hasn't created any rifts that we've at least seen. Or if it happened, it's not happening in practices where the media is there or shoot-arounds or in games. So they've done a really good job that way. But I think that a big part of that, though, is Teddy Allen. Everybody's eating, right? There's multiple guys that have had 20-point games. Teddy's getting his assists. He's still getting his 30-plus points a game, right? It's weird because all the things they were worried about was really circled around Teddy Allen, which is why I'm optimistic about Xavier Moon coming here because Allen's already made the adjustments. He's already playing that way, right? So I think he's going to be fine.
Who gets more touches? Teddy or Xavier Moon?
Well, it'll be Xavier because he's dribbling the ball. He's your point guard.
Okay, so but is he going to let is Xavier going to let this be Teddy's team?
I don't. Here's the thing. Teddy won't say it's Teddy's team.
Okay.
This is what I'm talking about.
That's a new Teddy.
Because the year 2 Teddy, the year where he was released, leading up to it was how do we build around Teddy? Teddy this, Teddy that. Those questions still exist, but Teddy Allen himself is making a point to shout out his teammates, right? And it's not that he wasn't a team player before, he wasn't shouting him out before, but I think what he's doing there, it's his way of saying, this isn't anybody's team. I'm a very good player on a team that wants to win a championship, and the team wins the championship.
I think that's a smart decision from Mr. Allen.
I think so too. And he knows the stakes. You go back to the team that released you and the way that it happened. Like, I remember like putting that press conference live on Instagram, and it still gets views from time to time, right? But anyway, like he knows that if it happens again, that's a hard blemish to come back from. You win a championship with that team, kind of changes the narrative, right? So I think he understands that. But the thing with the Xavier Moon, the offense is going to roll through Xavier because he's going to be directing it. He's very good in transition. He's very fast. He can make those quick decisions. So I think that if anything, if there's going to be an adjustment period, I don't think it's going to be Xavier Moon adjusting to the Sea Bears. It might be the Sea Bears adjusting to him, like in terms of like the pace that he can play at, the quickness of those decisions, like having your hands ready, finding you in your spots. Like I think he's going to make them better. So they're already playing well, but I can see a guy like that with the experience he has saying like, okay, Chris, you're over here right now, right? And I can get you the ball here. But if you make this subtle adjustment, I actually have a better chance to get you here. That'll, like those types of conversations to get you in your better spot to be better. That's the dangerous part with Xavier Moon. But Xavier Moon knows that he's got Teddy Allen. And the thing about Xavier Moon is he also draws as much attention as Teddy Allen defensively.
I was just going to say, like, how dangerous is that when Xavier Moon takes one or two dribbles inside the three-point line, someone collapses, and that's okay, it's just a kick out. No, it's a kick out to Teddy Allen.
Exactly. Like, and you've hit the nail on the head. And I think the difference is, like, we never got a full sample of Justin Wright Foreman playing with Teddy Allen, but there was a lot more pessimism to that one because JWF was a scoring guard. Like that's what he did, right? He was the guy putting 30 a game, where Moon might have that, but that's not what he's built his game around, right? Like he's built his game around strong defense, disrupting the opposition's offense, getting the steal, going to run in transition, which is how the Sea Bears already play. But I think with him is if you're a defense, you have to be honest to too many players on the floor. Because you can't overlook Jeremiah Tillman Jr. Definitely can't overlook Teddy. They still have guys like Emmanuel Laycott and Simon Hildebrand and Isaiah Osborne. So it's not like you could just say, like, we're going to lock on Teddy and Xavier, because if you do, then someone else is going to have a big night, and we've seen that a few times now this year. But I think the possessions, they're both going to get their touches. The offense will go through them both mostly, right? Like they're going to try and get Teddy the ball in his spots. But I think it's going to be easier for Teddy to get those shots. Like he's not going to have to break down double teams as much, or triple teams, because sometimes you'll see it, right? He's in a game and, they're waiting for him. That'll be like a double team, and then that third guy will come in to try and get the steal, and he still scores. But now it might just be a double team, because I don't know if you can get that other guy over and back quick enough to recover. And same with Xavier Moon. And he'll draw a lot more double teams probably up early to try and, so that to put some pressure on him to make a pass and to not have the ball in his hands. So
this is what I mean.
Teddy's playing well, but it could be better for Teddy. We have no idea.
This is why I think it's a must-win game, and I think it's another one that Vancouver is in tough with, because, like, again, like I'm really interested to see, if Jalen is going to be around. Lloyd, I would imagine Lloyd Pandy guards either Teddy or Xavier, and if you guard one, who's going to guard the other guy? Like, and Vancouver has struggled defensively. Mitch Creek's not there to guard 1 through 5. Like he's back in Australia already. So, I mean, I think it's a must-win game for Vancouver, just because, like, Winnipeg is dangerous, and if you let Winnipeg start to build some wins over you, the West might become a little bit, more of there might be some gaps in that Western Conference if Winnipeg starts to win some games, and goes on a streak. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think this is a big game for Tyree Samuel.
Yeah, he's been a little quieter for sure the last couple of games, although he missed one because of NBA workouts. But yeah, I agree. It needs to be a big game for Reese.
Well, I think the big one for him too is I look at Jeremiah Tillman Jr. The one blemish on him is his inability to stay on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Like with fouls.
Yeah.
So if you're Tyrese Samuel, like the first thing I'm doing, if I'm Vancouver, is if it's not Tyrese directly, it's trying to get traffic driving to the rim to try and get Jeremiah Tillman, bait him into a block, bait him into that foul. because he does like he's going to jump every time, right? Like he's going for the block. That's what he's there.
I'll make sure I tell Tyrese to use that pump fake, big man.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, and here's the thing. I've said this before, where I thought, like against Vancouver, for instance, I thought Jeremiah Tillman Jr. was going to have the biggest game because Tyrese wasn't there.
Right.
But then I think he had like 2 points that game, right? Because like everything else was working. So it could be that neither of them have a game, but I do think with the guards and everything that you just talked about, and the players there, if Michael Mulder has a good game and can find that shooting touch, like Miller Kopp couldn't really find the net and his rhythm in that game against Winnipeg, like. It'll definitely be the 3-point ball is going to be important for Vancouver, but I think that difference will be Tyrese because of the rebounding, the second chance points, and just trying to go head to head with Tillman Jr. But it's going to be physical down there. I'm excited for that matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. Defensively and rebounding have been Vancouver's kryptonite so far. So, like you say, like if Tyrese is going to be, protecting the paint and cleaning the glass for Vancouver. It certainly will be a closer game, but I still think they don't have enough bodies to guard both, Xavier and Teddy Allen, unfortunately.
And if I'm making a prediction, I couldn't give you a score.
Scores are always hard to predict in this league.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg wins. Like my thing is if Vancouver gets to 100, they put themselves in a much better place to win. They're the only team. I think Winnipeg might be right there, a little above, a little below, but they're the only team averaging more than 100 points. And you almost have to get in a track meet with Winnipeg, because I think you're right. I don't know if the defense has the ability to keep Winnipeg at say like below 90, unless Winnipeg's not shooting the ball well. But but I think if Vancouver gets out on the run a little bit, gets those threes, but willing to give up, not that you're conceding points, but when they score, it's just like getting the ball and get back on offense. They're a team. This particular Bandits team is built on offense. It's been their bread and butter. Winnipeg is the opposite, right? Like if you can score those points on Winnipeg, I think that's what's going to bring the confidence down, because they built their name on defense. They're the second. Want to say they're the second lowest in points allowed, second highest in points for. Like they're playing really, really well. But I think if you break them down early, like where they get a lot of their points is in transition, right? They force turnovers, and then they get out on the run, they get on the numbers. Like that's how they like those gritty to pretty plays, as I'm calling them. Like you work hard on the defensive end, and it turns into a beautiful opportunity at the other end, and they've been really good at turning them. So if Vancouver can get, like, it's almost like a race to 100. Not saying they need to win, but like that would be my goal if I'm Vancouver. Like, let's just pedal to the metal, try to get an early run on Winnipeg, and keep it going from there. If they can get in their rhythm offensively, which they didn't do on Thursday, I think they're a dangerous team. I think this will be. I was going to be bold and say like this game is going to be like an under 10 point differential, but I'll say I think it'll be under 12. I think it'll be a 10 point or less win. I think for Winnipeg, but
I can get behind
the other
that.
way around. If Vancouver wins, I don't think it'll be a blowout.
I can get behind that. No, I don't think it'll be a blowout if Vancouver wins. I also don't think it'll be another Winnipeg blowout. I like the 10 to 12 mark, whether it goes both ways. But then after, Vancouver has two Western Conference games, Edmonton, Calgary. I know Winnipeg plays Saskatoon, the next game after this weekend against Vancouver. So come the end of next week, like we might see an entirely different Western Conference, standings, right? So,
and that's what we've learned, right? Like the swings that can happen in this league, like, and I think it's tough because it's such a short season. Like you want to react to everything. Like I've made those comparisons before, where it's kind of like football that there's only 24 games, so it does feel like every game matters, and you can kind of pinpoint, where it went wrong or when it went right. But we do have a tendency to overreact, and I think like this isn't just this year. Like every year it's kind of like, oh, this team gets off to whatever 6-0 start, 7-0 start, everything's going great, and especially this year because a lot of teams like you guys out in Vancouver, I don't think they have a full team yet, right? So like everybody's been waiting on key players to this point, even at the halfway point of the season, where in years past this is when they'd be leaving, right? And we're like, who do we have left? So I think that there's a little overreaction because the teams that played in those first, like especially 6 games, I'd say for both teams, if you play them again, they're going to be totally different teams. There's a whole whole new core that'll be in most of these teams. Systems will have to change because of it. So I think this next stretch is going to be a big one because we're going to see what these teams actually are and what their identities are.
So do we know if Xavier Moon is playing this Saturday? Because
No.
that change, you don't know, because
No,
that changes my prediction as well. I still think it's a must win, but if he's playing, then it's a tough game for Vancouver, even tougher game. And if he's not playing, then then it could be a really really helpful situation for Vancouver.
Well,
Then,
and I think,
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, even like the one thing I would give Vancouver too, it's too small of a sample size, but like Isaiah Osborne's played really well at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Like in Calgary, the second game that he played, he had the target score winner, but I think he only had like 8 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if he's going to play like the road game that we saw there, like he's always played well in Winnipeg, it seems. But if you look at his performance, like even beyond the CEBL, like he's capable of 25, 26, 27 points, but he's capable of 6 or 8 too, right? So I think like some of those role players, especially if there's no Xavier Moon, will play an important role. And if they can, keep Isaiah Osborne from scoring 25 points on Saturday, then, that just puts more pressure on guys like Teddy and might give yourself a chance.
Anybody in Winnipeg that you may or may not lose to NBA Summer League? I know there's a few names in Vancouver. I mean, I know Tyrese might be a name, even though he signed a fat contract in France. I would imagine Miller Kopp is another name just because he used to be a G Leaguer. Maybe Mike Mulder gets another look at NBA Summer League. I don't know. But there's definitely some names on Vancouver that, we might lose to Summer League. That's another wrinkle we're going to see in a few weeks.
Yeah, the Summer League one's a funny one. And I feel like this year the players I've talked to, like, just like a different vibe. I think they're kind of like realizing that like Summer League isn't the be all end all to getting to the NBA. Like, and there's more understanding of the CEBL and or just opportunities outside of the G League.
Yeah.
I have not heard anybody like Winnipeg's been pretty open in the last, especially since last year when they were hosting championship weekend, getting away from Summer League guys as much as possible. The other thing about Summer League, it's usually younger guys, right? Like they're usually in their first or second, maybe third year. And there's a couple guys that are a little bit older. Like I don't foresee a Teddy Allen going there. Like not sure if the benefit is any better than him staying here. Just same with Jeremiah Tillman Jr., Xavier Moon certainly not going. So I think the main players will be here. If anything, you might see some role players. But again, Simon Hildebrandt, Emmanuel Acott, Isaiah Osborne, those are all key guys that I would be shocked if they went. Same with Trey McGowan's. He's been starting at point guard and playing well, but he's a little bit older too. Like he's played with Teddy, both professionally and in college. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's really not been a conversation in Winnipeg as much as it's been in years past. Because in years past, they've lost very important players, like Terry Roberts last year, for instance, and I believe Trey Scott came in when Jalen Williams was gone. A couple of guys went.
Yeah,
but and sometimes you find the diamond in the rough, right? Last year they found Will Richardson and Trey Scott because guys went to Summer League. So if guys even in Vancouver are going to Summer League, the other thing that we've seen in Winnipeg is you might have a tough decision when they get back. Who do I keep, especially if it's an import player? So,
well, it's interesting you say that. Yeah, it's interesting you say that about Winnipeg because, it's kind of been quieter, out here in Vancouver too. I'm just assuming that guys like Tyrese and Miller Kopp might go, but I haven't really heard much about it. So I just know that NBA Summer League is kind of lingering. We're getting close to that timeline, and so I don't know how it'll affect us or multiple teams, but I do know it's around the corner.
Well, we hope to have a guest coming up in the next couple of weeks, closer to Summer League, who has worked as a nil agent and has been to Summer League, for clients and just to take it in to kind of understand. I've never been to Summer League.
Me either.
I've heard things, but I don't really know what it's like to be there. It sounds like it's like a massive athletic networking event, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I think it just feels, and maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe I'm glorifying it a little bit, but it feels like the CBL championship's just being taken more seriously with every year. The guys that are here truly want to win now beyond it, just being a boost on their resume. It feels like there's more of a connection with these teams and winning here.
Nice. Yeah, it'll be a good game this Saturday. And look forward to seeing how it all plays out because there's just lots going on here in Vancouver, and I think Saturday might be a telling game. In terms of personnel, both players and coaches. I think what we see Saturday might be a very telling, game for the future.
I'll say this: they have 2 more meetings after Saturday.
The league does?
No, the like Vancouver and Winnipeg. Like they have to play 2 more times, including the last game of the season, which you are going to be on the call on the national game, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the August 2nd game.
That's my August 5th, I believe, maybe something like that.
that could be a tone setter to the playoffs.
Yeah,
man.
you're right, man. You're right. Well, it's funny. Like when I looked at the CBC schedule when you and I got the call, I looked at my first game was against Calgary, and I'm like, damn, that's gonna be a big Western Conference battle. And now it's like Calgary's 1-10, and so. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's like so Brampton for me.
Game. That's exactly.
I have a game with Brampton coming to Winnipeg, and by the time we got the call, though, I think at that time they'd already had like their big signing, so you knew it was going to be better. But last year, I would have been like, oh, great, like, all right, well, we got one of the worst teams coming up against the best, but then that ends up being a huge game too, right? But that's the CBL. I think this is like our shot of reality that not everything lasts forever.
No, it's true. No, it's
like
true.
With Calgary, right?
And that, a lot of people say this, like, and I've heard it over the years, just being around this league, players and coaches, like lots of people say they don't like that about this league. Like it starts too early or starts too late, or it's not long enough, or it's not a fall and winter league. And, it's tough to build a team in this league. The crazy like intricacies about this league for me is what I like so much about it. It just makes it like the target score time and like the guys coming in for 2, like Mitch came for 2 games, like, and now I just like what other league do you see that?
Totally. And that I don't think that happens for every player, but Mitch Creek in Vancouver is completely special.
Just as an example.
Well, even at the target score, like I'm not as much of a hater. Like I prefer they don't end on a foul shot, but like I also understand that's probably the most nerve-wracking thing you'll have in basketball in your life.
I've always said, how great would target score time be with a wrinkle that you can't win it on free throws? Like maybe it's just a checkout, like a sideline inbounds.
Well, even if you did,
you know what I mean?
I think I'd be okay.
It's a repossession.
I think I'd be okay even if they just like you can't like there's no bonus, there's no penalty.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So like even though they hit 5 fouls, it's like you can't win on a foul shot where a guy fouls you like before you even hit half, like because it's the 5th foul or 6th foul of the quarter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't like it's one of those ticky-tacky ones. Like fine, if you're going to the heart of the basket, it's a foul, like a basketball play, like okay. But I agree with you. Like you could have something where they get possession as opposed to a shot. So the foul still counts, but they get to pick where they get the possession. So either it's like,
wow,
like you could have it at baseline, or you could have it at like the sideline and pick what side of the floor. Like,
wow,
I think you can make it a little more interesting where it's like, okay, like you don't get the foul shot, but you still get a very big advantage for being in the penalty at that point of the game. Like I think there's ways around it, but I love those intricacies of this sport, and or this league rather. And it's what makes it different from like, the NBA or Puerto Rico or wherever like the other different pro leagues are, right? So I agree with you 100%. But
totally,
this Saturday is going to be a big one. You're going to be on the call, right? You and Andrew Savory.
Andrew will not be on the call. That guy's getting married. So
that's why he's not here.
So
we forgot to mention that. Andrew's not here because he's getting married and he has his whatever, the dinner or whatever. I forget how weddings work. But he's not.
Are you married? Aren't you married?
Yeah, but we eloped, and I don't remember. It was a few years ago now.
Rehearsal dinner. Yeah, as we speak, I think they're putting kind of the final touches on the planning. So, congrats to Andrew and Sabrina, and we wish them a lifetime of happiness, don't we?
Yes, we do. And I think you see Andrew's smiling face. Imagine what we'll be in 2 weeks' time when he's back here and back there.
Right.
So
that's right.
That's a valid reason. And Taylor was supposed to be here. We actually started the recording with Taylor. Then some major CFL. Taylor is the beat reporter for the Winnipeg Free Press for the Blue Bombers. And some big Blue Bombers news dropped, and he had to bail unexpectedly. So that's why you just get Chris and I on this crossover edition. But nonetheless, we didn't get to do it the first time around. It was fun to do it this time.
I know you were kind of sitting in the studio chair off to the side of the recording with the crossover with Brampton, and you're like having FOMO. So I know this isn't really like a full crossover experience for you, but at least you're dipping your toes in.
Hey man, I love this. We're gonna do it again. We have 2 more games again where they play each other. So but it's this one's a big one. You put more on it than I do. I don't think it's a must-win for Vancouver, but it's important. I think we can agree. That's the happy medium between your take and my take. And for Winnipeg, I mean, they win this one, it kind of blows it open a little bit, gives them some separation in the standings. So they're not going to be taking it lightly, that's for sure. Tip-off for that game. I didn't bring it up. When does that one tip off?
Tip-off on the West Coast, excuse me while I pull it up, is 6 o'clock. Yeah, yes. They've really went hard on the 6 o'clock tip-offs on Saturday on the West Coast, just to kind of make it a little earlier for families. And I mean, I've enjoyed it. I like getting home a little earlier. So I'll take the 6 o'clock tip off, but
it doesn't work for us. That's an 8 o'clock start here. So, so if you're going to be here, the games tend to go quick, but have a cold one while you're watching, and then you can go out and do your plans if that's your thing. And if for the kids watching, just have to stay up a little later. It's Saturday anyway. It's not like you have to go to school on Sunday or maybe ever again this year because I think the school years are over. But
yeah, I believe it is over. Yeah. Hey, before we wrap, I just want to say, Andrew and I did get a chance to talk to Mitch Creek.
Yes.
Whether it's part of this episode or we make it a separate, a special feature. Regardless, there's going to be a great chat with Mitch Creek. He's always so colorful, and we talked about him representing his country, what the championship victory was in Romania. I know we were kind of all living vicariously through his Instagram live the night they won the championship, and then. Just like his mental preparation and sort of what the Bandits were going through last week when we were talking to him. But regardless, great chat.
Yeah, and that's for the Vancouver fans.
Yes.
Won't be on the Winnipeg episode either way. I think that would be a standalone, so everybody can get to that interview. It is a good one, and you had a great post-game interview with Mitch too. I meant to say that earlier as well.
Thanks.
And like I said, when Mitch Creek is in the league, it's better for the league. He brings a lot of attention, a lot of skill, and it was great to see him, even if it was only for a couple of games. And I know people in Winnipeg weren't too upset this time around that he didn't make the trip to Winnipeg. So, but hopefully he'll be around for the playoffs. We'll see what that brings. But nonetheless, it was good to see him here. Good to see you. That game is on Saturday, 6 Pacific, 8 Central Time.
Yeah.
And of course, CBL Plus, CBC Gem, and CBC Sports YouTube. Chris will be there on the sidelines with Andrew. And we'll recap it all next week. Until then, have a good one. This was a pleasure, Chris.